Okay, folks, it is 8:18 p.m. Friday night, May the 10th, 2013. I found out that I was deceived by my own brother, who was born from a different mother, about the funeral and the memorial date of my father. Or I'm saying it in reverse, the memorial date of my father's funeral and ceremony. I find out that it was today. I was told explicitly, very clearly by my brother it would be on Saturday. It was today. They moved the date up and they changed the date deliberately so that I wouldn't know what was going on, because I was preparing to get on a flight today to go over there. I was preparing to get on a flight today. After Jummah, I was planning to fly after Jummah prayer. But you never know with my terror labeling what alarm or what torment that would have brought to other air travelers as to what's hanging over my head. I told you I was the target of SOCOM and JSOC and Senator Feinstein, who people said, Diane? You know, because they know she's Jewish ancestry, and that Jews, they would think of her being anti-Muslim. But if you were Jewish and you knew a lot of intelligence about what they're getting feedback from the Quran and what Islam says, and you know how it's anti-Talmud and things like that, you would be afraid of Muslims too. So that would put her in the camp that with being afraid of Muslims, then you become antagonistic of what you're afraid of. I wouldn't blame her one bit, you know. You're talking about wiping her people out and all that. Why would you? Why would you be friendly to Islam? Something that says that. But the individual American that chose to convert to it by the British, particularly MI6, the building on the Vauxhall River, they've always had a caution more towards the convert. Caution of the convert than those who are born. Unless the convert is really purely Snow White and Celtic ancestry and they're getting benefits from converting, then they don't really bother them too much. The convert they bother the most are a number or a picking of Afro converts. Mostly of Caribbean ancestry, they'll bother them. Caribbean and Afro converts who are Afro-American slave stock descendants, they'll bother them more so than the Caucasian or Anglo converts. I was looking at this here. California's first halal food and Eid festival is planned for August 2013. Chef demo with Akisa Bandoko from Hip Hop Chef Federation. Hip Hop live skateboarding is planned for August 15. That means Ramadan is starting in the middle of July. And there's a live cooking demonstration of halal Indonesian food with Chef Jimmy Sojanto. And you find that in Indonesia a lot with the names Tommy, you know, and Jimmy, you know, and yet of Jimmy Sojanto of Padi Restaurant in Berkeley. So you find that sort of like a mixture of Euro-Western names in the Dutch culture and Indonesian. Jimmy and Tommy and a few others. That way they don't really rub the rest. They don't rub the West the wrong way. You know, when they want to do things, they want to expand mercantile, business expansion, trade links. They won't really be so isolated, you know, or restricted. Whereas people who are, you know, strongly and deeply, you know, clearly, purely Arabic or Islamic type names, they're restricted to their region and the trade links of those of a similar background. They can't really expand into the West, do a lot of Western stuff. They can, but it depends on your personal. It's subjective, person to person, how they carry it. But generally, in Indonesia, they tend to lean towards a different type of identity, sort of really not exuding too much Islam, you know, like they'll be Western, but they have it mostly internalized. Their Islam is mostly internalized. It's not really put on display outwardly. You won't be able to tell. You'll think they're just they're Filipino or another Southeast Asian or a Thai. You won't know that they're Indonesian unless they tell you. There's certain things in the facial features I can look and tell that they're Bahasa, that are different from Thai features or other Southeast Asian, but most people will not be able to tell. Plan Islam. Inheritance and charitable planning. Islamic inheritance, trust, justice for you and your family, your responsibility. This means also part of like a will. Can I just write or download something myself? It's a bad idea to do complex tasks that affect your family's well-being based on handwritten notes or forms downloaded from the internet. These documents are almost always useless. Unfortunately, several internet Islamic forms will leave a family with results that have nothing to do with Islam. If major decisions are left to a judge, your wishes may well be completely ignored. This is what the Muslims were pushing for when they wanted Sharia in Canada. In the U.S., this is the type of Sharia. People would sign on and they would choose whether they would want their will or financial affairs administered by Sharia, just like the Jewish community has Haggadah or Haggadah or Haggadah or certain types of courts. In New York, judges that administer their financial matters according to Talmudic or purely Torahic or Judaic law. Things like that, separate. And those judges and people that are part of those courts in New York, in Brooklyn and other places, they are respected by the general legal system because they're administering to their community. They're seen as full and valid judges, but specializing in that, and those type of things. So this is what the Muslims were saying. We wanted the same thing. Not that we wanted Sharia in the U.S. applied to everybody. Sharia law in the cutting of the hand and all that kind of stuff, and amputations and all that. Any of those type of penalties meant for violent or unbecoming or lewd acts or whatever, any of those type of things would be to the people who would sign on and said, yes, this is a part of being Muslim. Therefore, I also feel compelled that I should put myself, I want to make myself subject to the Sharia as a part of being a Muslim. I want to make myself subject to the Sharia regarding jurisprudence, inheritance, and trust, financial matters, things like that. But it would be optional because you would have Muslims who you can choose to opt out and say, no, I don't want to be subject. I don't want to be judged or subject to Sharia in anything. Whether I do something or whether I trespass or whether I am trespassed against. I don't want to be subject to Sharia. You can choose it. This is what the Muslims were pushing for, is to have the choice and to have a court system and buildings and structure where they can go and have these things meted out according to Sharia and the weight and the balances, as far as financial, especially financial stuff, financial, marital, all that kind of stuff. And it was met with vehement opposition here in the Western world. Vehement, very, very virulent and vehement. A carefully designed Islamic inheritance trust is more likely to keep your private matters private and fulfill your family obligations. See, when they say private matters private, meaning not spread all over the streets for non-Muslims to know and to peruse, and like, they intercept intimate writings and photos between you and your fiance, which was witnessed by an akid or a nikah, to be nikah, and then they going into all your details by invading your hard drives, your computers, when there was no real war against you as an individual, but you're just a pawn as for an experiment of control of an individual's life. Just like with the situation 2 or 3 weeks ago, me going to the community down at SBIA, and now they're saying that it was already done, but nobody has cut the check, nobody has called me, they've done nothing, and basically delayed to let me know, and then I lose the job. But like I said, they may have been good in me losing that job down in LA, as I would have been allowed via the company strength, I would have been allowed into a lease for a tractor power unit, which I normally could not do on my own. The company would lease it to me, but I would be responsible for $600 a week in payments. $600 a week. That means I'd have to bust my chops nonstop, and I wouldn't be able to rest unless I bust my behind aggressively, making much more than the $600 and then stashing the money away for let's say 1 week's pay, let's say a few thousand a week or more, or several thousand, and then stashing the money away for each $600 a week in advance, letting it pile up. That's the only way I would be able to come off, and I'd be able to do it.